Good afternoon. It's Easter Sunday. I hope you're having a good day. I've decided to cook my Easter dinner after this. So, here I am. Let me move that on my computer so that's there. Right. So, we are making a race towards the end. Hopefully we make it. Mind you, of course, if we make it, not sure what I'm going to do tomorrow because, well, I've not really prepped. So, you know how it is. I'm happily enjoying the thing that I'm making, and then suddenly, about this point near the end, I suddenly realise that once I get to the end, I won't have anything for tomorrow, and I begin a kind of internal panic. Anyway, here's where we left off last night. Some kind of, 11 or so hours ago. So, let us sort through a few bits. Go in, you miserable pen. Thank you. Hi, Christy. How you doing? Freezing is not a good plan. To be honest. Um, Generally the human body is kind of against it. Um, this is true. We are allegedly warming up, although this week most decidedly not. A week ago, or a couple of weeks ago, it was nearly 20 degrees here and it was pleasant. You opened the door and you didn't freeze. And this week the average temperature is going to be 14, which is colder. It's also, of course, been raining. Hello, it's England. But it is supposedly warming up. This is a good thing. It's actually one of the things that always puzzled me as a child. I mean, I get the rotation of the Earth gives us night and day, therefore, the half that's facing the sun gets the bright bit, the half that's facing the dark bit, facing away is the dark bit. Get that? I am also aware that the planet orbits round the sun in an elliptical manner. It's not a circle, it's an oval. And, well, here's where my confusion starts. For one side of the planet, or one half of the planet, more accurately, to be in winter, it suggests that it's further away. The half that's nearer suggests that it's closer. Now, that's kind of logical, we get that. But if the Earth is spinning, so we get night and day, surely we're all equidistant from the sun. And, well, it confuses me then how one half can be in winter and the other half can be in summer, because surely at all times we are relatively the same distance from the sun as everybody else. Now, I do know that the planet rotation is not north to south, it's at an angle. I do know that it's elliptical, but it just doesn't add up in my head. And it also, of course, messes with my head because all of the traditional Christmas pictures show snow and ice and stuff. Not having bikinis and a barbecue on the beach. This is just not a Christmas picture. Now, I know that it is, for example, for the Australians. That's what they're used to. But does it not really freak them out that, Frosty the Snowman, Santa Claus and, snow and is the generic picture, yet for them, heat waves are the name of the day. No one goes out and throws snowballs on Christmas Day in Australia. Or if they do, the end of the world is coming, frankly. So, it just seems a little odd to me that we have... I mean, I can get that, we can be warmer and colder because obviously the earth is round, everything's round. But, well, this is indeed a problem. And, while the world has always been unimpressed with those of us who have reached kind of spherical shape, if we are healthy with it, for example, which I am overweight. I make no beef about it. I am, without no hint of a doubt, overweight. And not just a couple of pounds, we're talking a good few. However, I have no diabetes, low blood pressure, well, low to normal blood pressure. I don't have sleep apnea. I do not have any weight or health related ailments. Heck, I've even got low cholesterol, for Christ's sake. And when you hear what I would naturally eat as my diet given any chance, frankly, that's a miracle. So we do, people do need to understand that the human body, while there are generically averages as to what works out to be healthy and what works out to be good, it is not always, like any average, there are those who are not average, for example. There are those who, are on the fringe of the numbers. And this doesn't mean that they are wrong. Now, as someone overweight, I am aware that society deems I should be thinner. I am aware that society would argue that my diet is terrible. I am aware. Of course I'm flipping aware. It's rubbed in our faces morning, noon and night. And as someone rather intelligent once pointed out, one of the biggest problems is that we are held to pictures of models. But even the models don't look like what they look like in the pictures, right? Those pictures are pictures. They are not photographs. They have been doctored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As a result, nobody looks like all the pictures of celebrities and models and all the rest of it. So, with that in mind, is it so surprising that a form of body dysmorphia is prevalent in everyone to an extent? Oh, my nose is too big, my bum's too small, my boob's too small, too big, I've got love handles, I've got cellulitis, I've got all of these things that people convince themselves they have. And we've talked about seasonal adjustment disorder on this channel a couple of times. You know, where if it's kind of winter, everyone, you know, people suffer from depression. That's not a disorder. It's called normal. Because when it's cold, wet, miserable, dark, sideways rain, what is there to be happy about? It is not a disorder. It's called normal. And we've got to a point in society where we are so busy naming everything to give people a reason and an excuse. We forget that some of it's actually normal. That, you know, it's... I mean, for example, you can be depressed. I suffer from depression. Clinical depression. But depression can be normal. If you've lost a family member, if you've lost someone dear to you, of course you're depressed. You should be depressed. You've just lost, you know, someone really important to you. If you weren't depressed, there'd be something wrong with you. So we need to stop making names out that they're necessarily bad. You know, why is it that the moment someone's really tidy, they're OCD? Now, someone who doesn't suffer from that, but why is it that the moment someone's a neat freak, and maybe no more than that, it's OCD? Well, no, it's not. They're just a neat freak. We need to dial back on making sure everyone's got a label, because, well, it's not always true, you know? So I need a couple of you to get going. And then we'll put you over here like this. And we'll take a couple of you. spam bot alert. Hang on. Indeed, spam bot. Hello, dog. No, don't put your paws on it. Come off. I'll get it off. Now, don't stand on the table, little catapult things everywhere. Oh, Rory, you've been out in the warmth doing dog things. Yes, you have. Stop licking my hands. You know that annoys me. You do. Hello, miss. Ah, dogs. There isn't really room for both of you. Not on my lap. No. No. I know. I do. I do love you both. I love you even more if I wasn't doing things already. Yes, you headbutt the microphone, Amy. That helps. Hello. 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 Yes, you. Little puppies. Yes, you. You've been in the warms because you're all toasty warm, little man. You are. You found a warm spot. It's quite impressive in my garden because there isn't a lot of sunshine. Makes me wonder where you've been. It is. It is. There's your sister trying to annoy you. She succeeded. Excellent. Right. Sort this back out. Right. So. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Little puppies. I do love them very much, but they don't half know how to be annoying at times. But those are the punches you get when you have puppy dogs. As I say, I do love them very much. So right, let's work this end down a bit. So I need you. So I'm gonna sneak you in here, like you're supposed to be. you, my friend, are from all the wrong places. How can you be all the way over there? You were supposed to be possibly there. Take you out a sec. Brandon. Indeed, very much. Happy Easter to you. How you doing? Good for you. I was awake a couple of hours later than normal today. So, um, such is life. Such is life. Um, I'm beginning to panic because obviously, normally I will stream tomorrow. And, well, it's looking like I'm going to finish this today because, well, I'm so near the end, I would be stupid to give up now. And, well, what do I do tomorrow? Because, well, I haven't really prepped anything else. So, I found myself slightly perplexed. Well, it's not. Well, I really have to do the whole kind of. I really need to do my triangles and my squares, to be frank, or make another strip. And we did do a bit of planning when we started this strip. So while I didn't entirely show me faffing around and making my pattern, or printing it out and laminating it, because can't really demonstrate that so easily on camera, um, I did show pricking some of it. Um, I've done some, but I showed quite a bit of that. And then obviously I wound some bobbins, but not all of them. So we wound some more bobbins on stream when I ran out. Because, well, not too surprisingly, they run out pretty quickly. Sorry, the adding of bobbins, you chew through them. Because for every pinhole here is 2 pairs of bobbins. So you make a load of bobbins and then you realise you've done like an inch. It is, I kind of covered that. And, well, while I realise this is not the most exciting spectator sport in living history, we'll leave that to Formula One and downhill skiing. Prep of it is even more tedious. It's a bit like planning doing the warp for your loom. Sitting there wiping, 600 bits of string round a board is not exactly, hair raising, and then putting it on the loom and winding it on, also not hair raising. Threading the headles, distinctly tedious. Threading the reed, even more so. And it's only once you do the actual weaving that it becomes interesting. And lace making is arguably no different in that matter. Is that, it's not that it is a terrible thing to do. Hey, Sigabert, how you doing? Problem is it's really difficult to show that on camera. unless you've got, you know, a professional studio where you don't live, and that you can have almost hospital conditions for it. Um, you know, most of us tend to end up doing these in some of the most godforsaken, awful bits of the house. And for anyone who crafts, it does not lead to neat and tidy. Crafting, you know, is kind of the excuse for the messy person to exist. Really, it is our raison d'être, shall we say? Because for every single hobby you have sub hobbies and more hobbies and collection of things, and nowhere to bloody put it all. Because unless you've got like an Amazon warehouse with robotic control that you can give a box and say put it in 39A, you kind of don't have that level of ability, and so you can't go, all the mid blue coloured things are in box 26B, and I want cloth, so that meant, you know. Yeah, but there's an element of truth to it, let's be honest. Um, he probably already knows it's kind of hard to hide, to be honest. Um, for those who watched yesterday's stream, if you paid attention carefully, there were pictures of me visible in yesterday's stream. So, you know, um, you just had to be paying attention. Nearly there. Nearly there. Rory, you're not helping, my man. No, you're not. Dogus interruptus. Yes. What? I know you're very beautiful and lovely. Yes, you are. And your sister's an annoying bag of fur. Tell me something I didn't know. Hello. Oh! Smack me in the teeth, why don't you? How come that never hurts? Hmm? So I'm going to end up with a fat lip and you're telling me that didn't hurt. Hmm? It should. It should hurt, little one. No sense, no feeling, huh? Hmm? Little one. Off they go again. Right. Did you? What did you do? And what did you mess up? Ah. That's a bit awkward. If you let it dry, assuming it's not dry already, then, well, it'll hoover up. I assume there was no one living in said fish box. So, you know, it's alright. It's fixable. Well, that's alright then. So nothing's died. It's all fixable. You know, it's it's not like you had some multi-million-pound, you know, bass babies in there or something. You know, let's you know, it's all fixable. It's very much all fixable. Worry not. Worry not, my dear friend. It is fixable. It's not ideal right here, right now, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. There are worse things. Definitely worse things. We're down to a little corner, look. Down to a little corner. Then I've got to tie 1,000 bastard knots. And the knots hate me, let's truly be honest. But, you know, we will. Well, that's a good thing in a way. That's okay. Well, if you've now, you know, if the rope's parted with the sand, the hoover will pick up the sand. It'll be a piece of cake. Don't worry about it. I saw a post on social media earlier. Actually, me saying that reminded me of a post on social media. See if I can find it. Isn't that always the way? They removed it. Someone basically asked why, I can't remember what it was. But in short, the short answer is for the same reason we have biros and hoovers. We refer to them by a brand name. And the brand name stuck. Tipp-Ex, biros, hoovers. And of course there's me saying, well, you can always hoover it up. Of course, you know, you might not have a hoover, so you're not hoovering it up, you're vacuuming, as a good friend of mine would happily correct you, mainly because he used to work for Dyson. So but he had a really good point. It was very true. You aren't hoovering unless you have a hoover, you know. But you'd never say I'm Dysoning, you know. But you would say you're hoovering. You hoover it up, you know. Yeah. But it is one of those weird things, is that there are definitely many times where we tend to refer to an item by one of its more famous brand names than the actual product. And, you know, Biro and Hoover are the most two obvious ones that come to mind. But they've deleted their post, of course, so I can't read it. Always the way. Yes. I blame my cousin. For my cousin came to my grand's one day with her lace making stuff and zero interest in it. And her mother was desperately trying to make her show Granny how she was doing with it. And she would rather have pulled her fingernails. And I went, well, what is it? And I had a bit of a go, and I looked at the book and it had instructions, and well, I finished that bit, and then I finished the next bit. And then when I got home, it was like, Mum, I did lace making. I want to do more of this. So Mum then found me a local lady that did lace making that was prepared to give me some vague ideas. And admittedly, she didn't actually do jack shit, I need to point out. All she really did was tell my mum to get a flat bit of styrofoam, put a cloth over the top, and she printed out, or she put on a piece of paper, some dots for me to make. I think it was 3 different strips. So it was like half stitch, cloth stitch, and whole stitch kind of deal. And once I'd done the 3, we didn't even finish them off. It was, you'd do about 3 inches of it, and it would be like, well done, Liz. Let's try a different stitch this week. And that was it. That's all I ever got. So, but I blame my cousin. But my brain's done this before. So quite a few years ago, probably nearly 20 something now, I woke up one Saturday morning and I went, Liz, yes, brain, I want to crochet. Now, I'd never watched someone crochet. I had never tried crochet. I didn't know anybody who crocheted. And my brain does this. It wakes up. It's usually a Saturday as well. It usually wakes up on the Saturday and kind of goes, Liz. And you kind of go, yes, brain, what now? I've come up with this obscure shit that I want to do, and I'm not going to give you any peace until you let me. Yes, brain. Okay, brain. We will get all the bits that are required to start, which is part of the reason I am not getting a 3D printer. I am not getting woodworking equipment. I am not, because my brain will be, hey, we can, no, we can't. Let's just not. Yeah. We can just not be doing that, you know? Yeah. Shut up, naughty cow. No, my name's definitely Liz. Definitely Liz. Um, don't know what my twin would have been called, but no, only a Liz here. No, not particularly. I'm quite capable of finding many rabbit holes that no one even knew existed to go down, so I don't need to be finding even more. Because, well, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to go down a rabbit hole of how to make lace that looks like it's one piece that isn't, and it's not really well documented. So, in fact, it's more rumour than documentation, so I'm having to work it out for myself. So, right, time to tie some knots. And yes, Nauticals, I am a lot better about my knots with your assistance, my dear friend. But they're still, well, knots, and they're still trying to hate on me. Well, this next step is yeah. My problem is if I had a 3D printer, I would want to make bobbins with magnets in. Probably on the ends, or at the tops here, so that you could like attach them to a metal strip. So a bit like these sticks, but metal strips to hold them a bit better. So for those who are blatantly breath watching what I'm about to do with this, this is probably the least traditional method of handling this, but bite me. So I probably should have done something a little bit more with them before I cut them. But we are going to do a knot, which Nauticat will tell you the proper name of because I suck at knot names. But we do left over right and squinch and then right over left. Now, in my mind, this makes a knot that will slide and is a completely useless value. But I'm assured it is the knot of choice. So those are the knots that we're going to do. But they're harder to do with bobbins on the end, which is why I'm chopping them off and then doing the bobbin thing and then doing the knot, because otherwise you're going to pass 4-inch long bits of wood round it all, and that just makes it really complicated in my mind. As I will... There you go, whatever. Nauticat is the king of knots. So, for example, if I do this, and I do left, over, right, and round, you see you've got to tuck those in. Sweet. And then we do right, over, left, and round. And to me, that's just more complicated. Because there's all these bobbins in the way. The only good thing is that it is slightly easier to know where the threads are, but Yeah. Because of course they do shrink quite a bit when you... about 15 centimetres. I'll show you in a minute. Won't take too long to get to the other end. Yes, sod off. This is complicated enough. Alright. Good. Good. Sticks. Now, I will point out that this is not going to be the sexiest bottom of a piece of lace ever. Hello, Mr. Paws. Yes, I see your uncomfortably large dogness. Yes. Your head is just off camera. What is wrong with you two? I mean, that is not a paw rest. Get your foot off that. Stop licking my hands. Little puppies. Little puppies. You're not helping. I know. You're definitely not. No. You're definitely not helping. No, you're not. Well, like all dogs, Dog Helpers is never quite as successful as they believe it is. Wow. That's a lot of lace. Wow. Unfortunately, now there's like a 40-pound dog in the way. Rory, just sit still. This is not easy round a dog, my friend. I can barely reach. Amy, you don't need to be complaining. Little man. Oh, well, that's one way to sort that. His sister decides to call the alert so that she can have some attention, which is most likely what that's about. But it does remove Rory from my lap, so partly not going to complain. Cheers, Aim. Rory will realise in a minute he's been had, and he's lost his cushy spot. Hello, Amy. Did you want the cushy spot? Did you want cushy spot? Did you? Hello. Yes, you are a meanie cow when it comes to your brother. Yes, you are. Are you going to sit down in the cushy spot now? Yes. No, Rory, there is not room for you in cushy spot as well. My lap is not that big. B, there is a lace pillow in the way. Yes. I know. You shouldn't fall for her stupid antics. No. Oh, puppies. Little puppies. We will do the thing when I do the thing. Ah, Amy, you've got dodgy paws. Yeah. Let's try it with the sticks on again. The problem I get is that they stick on each other like that, and I make that difficult. Yeah, there isn't really a lot to see. Hang on, let me... The dogs have knocked it, as always, so there you go. Um, It's just a roller pillow. It doesn't really have a particular name other than it is a roller pillow. In that this goes round. Yeah. This cloth is not part of it. It's all green. I just put a blue cloth on it because it's a bit more contrast. I got it second hand, so there's like dent here and a peak here, and there's kind of definitely a big kind of dent there, and it's not perfect, but it was cheap, and they are quite useful. I've got two. I've got a bigger one. I kind of wish I'd done this on the bigger one so I could have a slightly more room for my bobbins, but there are whole hosts of varieties that achieve the same thing. I mean, I could have done this on a block pillow and shuffled the block up, but I suck at that, so, I try not to. Biggest problem I have with this is what to do with the bobbins when I chop them off. I do not have 500 million containers to decant them into, and I've got little piles of bobbins everywhere, and it's just complicated. But we're getting there. Shortly, we will rip it off the lace pillow and pray that I didn't screw up too much at the beginning, and then it's not all going to fall apart. Because that can be a thing. Because I'm pretty sure I did screw some of them up. This is kind of where I find myself, to be honest. Now, for this, not so much, as this is an experimental strip. But, for example, in terms of if this was going to be... yeah. Well, you can, if you're really organised, when you wind them, at the very, very start, do it so that there are no knots. However, sanity does tend to lead, as I have found out, to you end up putting an awful lot of thread on, like I've got all this extra here, right? And, well, I come from the family who would remind you, if you didn't eat all your dinner, that they were starving in Africa kind of thing. And the principle was not lost on me. You know, yes, they're starving in Africa, Mum. If they want my sprouts, they can fucking have them. But, at the same time, the principle of waste not, want not is definitely a thing. So yes, I do retie, and start. And in fact, when I started this to it, in fact, all I'd done was made a buttload of bobbins with, you know, and then tied them together, because it is so much easier to work on. I mean, I can't tell you exactly how much thread was on these bobbins at the start. I just did 24 twists of my bobbin winder, so they all had roughly the same amount, right? How much they've got on now, again, who the heck knows, right? The principle for me was that they started with roughly the same amount and more than plenty to do the job, being the key word. Now, by having spare, when I come to start strip number 2, for there will be strip number 2, it may be a different strip, it may be the same strip. There are things I potentially would change, so, you know, opportunities and all that. Practice and messing around. Hi. Putting colours in it can be done. To be honest, I actually thought about making the waves out of different colours. I've also thought of other things. So, for example, with a bit of careful planning and a bit of cheating, making almost a diamond pattern so that you have pairs, because in the mesh part the pairs go at 45-degree angle. You could do something to ensure that the pairs never entered the wavy bit, for example, and then you would be able to do something so that, you know, you have a wave pattern in a colour. You have the kind of diagonals, but adding colour for a small section is also possible, but a bit more complicated, but it's still very doable. And the lady that I occasionally mention that winds me up on YouTube, she was banging on about how, oh, well, this lady's, you know, she hadn't invented it, but kind of all but implying this lady was the only human being able to do this. No, she's not. She is not. All you do is you change that bobbin for a new pair of bobbins in magic colour of whatever, and off you go. It's not it's not groundbreaking, lace technology. It is, well, people do it all the time. In fact, I made a couple of bookmarks where I had like this wide bookmark with diamonds in, and I did the diamonds in a different colour because I could, right? Um, in fact, I made one with gold and one with silver, and one with green, as I seem to recall. But it was because I've got this snot green colour thread that, frankly, I was going to do this in snot green, but I really wanted the thread to be thinner, so I didn't. But, it was close. It was going to be second choice. I.e. colours I would not normally gravitate to that I happen to have spools thereof. Because I've bought a few bunches of things second hand. So I've got a few things that personally I would never have chosen, but effectively the other things that were in the bundle were what I wanted, and this slightly less necessary version, came with. So good for testing, So yes, nearly there, and then we will rip this off and find out if I screwed up at the beginning. Right. Now, this is the least beautiful way to finish a bit of lace, because obviously, not particularly. It is a high twist cotton thread, but it is basically no more than that. Now, the reason that it is high twist is it does make it smoother to do the slidey thing. But other than that, you do not need special thread specifically. If you're willing to go fat thread, you can use crochet cotton. Realistically, especially when beginning, part of the reason this strip originally did have an earlier start, but I'd messed up the pattern, and then I decided that I really didn't like the thread that I was using because it was coming apart, and it was slippery. Now, the slippery is a bonus in a way, but it's also, detrimental in others. So, let's not pretend that, everything has pros and cons. But it was silk, or supposed to be silk. I don't know whether it is actually silk, but it claims that it's silk, so we'll go with what it says it is. In this day and age, we're accepting of people's decisions. And Liz just grabs handfuls of pins. Yeah. We like pulling things out. We like seeing what we've done. It's also when you discover how much you buggered it all up. So we know that there are some errors in this. We spotted them earlier on. I'm hoping there aren't too many. But to be honest, it's a test strip. It's not like it's going on show somewhere. It's not like it's going to be given to anyone important. In fact, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it once I'm done with it, because the purpose of this strip, and its sole purpose, is to test joins at the edges. So I need to make a number of strips, but I wanted them to be wide enough so that you could kind of, from a distance, look to see if it showed up. If they're too close together, it's kind of, you haven't really got any baseline you can compare it against. Exactly. So this is one of the strips. That is, this is its purpose, which is why, as you can see here, it's not got straight lines on it. Yeah. Once we pulled it off, we will point and laugh at all the errors that I made. I mean, for there will be some. We all know that there are some. It's one of my pieces of lace. It wouldn't be mine if I didn't have errors in it. So, no, errors are a valid portion of being human, especially when you're doing repetitive actions. Well, it makes it more yeet, but it's also very common for human beings doing repetitive tasks for their brains not to concentrate and then suddenly like snap into reality and do weird crap and freak out and kind of go, but this can't be right. And it is exceptionally normal. So right, let's pop out all the pins. There's a mistake. Look, I missed pin somehow. Don't know how I did that, but there we go. That's slightly annoying, but there we go. Right. The fun bit, there you go. There is my lace strip. The top looks a bit skanky, but that's kind of to be expected. But there is, see now you can't see it all in one piece, but there is my lace strip. So, errors, there's one. We didn't twist those legs. Something went funky there. Yeah, it is. It's interesting that these two end spiders are different from the one in the middle, and I like the one in the middle a little bit more, even though it's really not that different. Yeah. Well, this is the thing, is that... Oh, look, there's another one. And another one. But the key points of this strip are that the edge is not straight. Now, it looks pretty straight unless you can see it at pretty close-up distance. But like that, you can see that the edge is made of a load of bubbles. This should help in the joining of the strip. Now, it would look a lot better if I hadn't hooked it up. But, you know, it's cool. It is what it is. It is a strip. So, what I will do is it also is kind of fragile because it's not got the stability of something with... I will trim off these ends a bit more. Now we're done. Because, well, they'll just get in the way. Like that. I know you can't see it, but there you go. So there you go. I've trimmed the ends a little bit to make it a little bit more so the ends don't pull on it. So it is a little fragile like this. Now, in terms of making an actual lace neck curtain like this, I would attach it to some bias tape or whatever at the top. So I would make a section of, say, 1 inch or so, so that it can be attached to loops and stuff to be hung from. And the end pieces of the lace, so one on one side would have a good strong straight line, and the right hand one would have a good strong straight line. But the principle of the bit in the middle, to be honest, I really quite like how this looks. It is roughly what I envisaged. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened here. I just fucked it up, obviously. It's the short answer. But, you know... Oh, no, that's the loop. That's right. This is the little loop. It's not actually... Well, it is a fuck up. Basically, some thread got caught round a pin. That's why that looks funky. Because thread likes to catch on pins. But, to be honest, it didn't take us a very long period of time. But at the same time, you've got to remember, this is basically half a square. Where is it? And in case you aren't convinced, there is half a square. So it didn't take as long as doing a square. So from a principle and possibly some more, so in terms of that, if you consider that we started this, midweek? And yet we're already done, but it would normally be only a triangle in that time. Now, some of it is because of the spiders, because spiders take up a fair bit of space and don't have a lot of pins. And as I've said to you before, it is the pins I feel that take up a lot of the effort and time in making my lace. I do like the snakes. The slithery snake. I do like that. I'm not sure. Would I want it on my neck curtain? Don't know. But I do like it. It achieves that which I wanted it to look like, which was the slithery snake. If you Google "I am a snake" and you see a mad-looking lad in a snake hat, that's the video. I have finally nailed down where it came from. But I never saw that before, so I don't know where I heard it. But it basically starts off with, "I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a slithery snake." And this is all that was in my head the moment this started coming out, is that's the head of the snake and then it slithers. That's all I've thought about the whole way here. So this is purely made of spiders. There is 2 stitches, ground stitch and spiders. The last half looks a lot less screwed up than the first half. I'm looking reasonably hard because the quickest way to find it will be to post pictures on the internet and then they will all show up. But a quick scan does not show any blatant flaw in the second half. All the flaws seem to be in the first half. Which, kind of bodes reasonably well. But I am pleased about the speed of it. That was something that had concerned me, because obviously, normally it takes me a week to do a triangle. So if a triangle's kind of this bit, this is the other half of the triangle. So this would be 2 triangles. So this arguably should have taken 2 weeks. But it didn't. It only took a few days. Which really does imply that making them in strips could really rock an answer. And instead of being 18 months to do a Wretched Neckgun, it could be significantly less. Because a whole square might only take a week or so. And if you only need 18, well, that's 18 weeks. Well, suddenly that's, a handful of months. And you're talking... Now, the joining of them, however, could take a small eternity. And, well, that's where the problem lies. Trying to make an invisible join. Now, part of the reason for the little loops at the edge is normally when you finish off and you join to another piece of lace, you will have seen that you lift a pin out, poke a little stick through it, pull up an end through it, and you poke the other bobbin through, thus making a kind of half-hitch knot, sort of, but not, holding it in. Well, there are other ways potentially to do this. So one of them's going to be making a second piece of lace and, pin this on and join as you go, right? Because joining as you go could be a thing. Although that could get rather unwieldy when you're talking about a metre long piece of lace, so got to be careful in that respect. Which is why these had to be a reasonable size. Because obviously, if I pin this to the roller, for example, if I put this on the roller and I was to be joining them again, there is this extra bit of annoyance that will be floating around. And of course, by the time you get to the far right hand corner, let's say you're working left to right, doesn't really matter which, that's quite a bit of net curtain dangling off on the side, getting on your nerves. So it's not an ideal answer, but if it's the best answer, it's the best answer, right? Now, another way of achieving that would be to make lots of strips, and then, a bit like you do with granny squares in crochet, doing some more in between. So you would pin A and B and do, a tiny slither of annoyance down the middle. And again, you could do it in a different colour, but we're trying to hide the joins after all. But if you made it wide enough, that could be quite pretty. If you made it wide enough so that, you did slithery snakes, so you made it like an inch wide and you did slithery snakes down the middle, kind of, the snakes would attract the tension away from any join on the edges, so, could be a thing. And you would still suffer from the problem of, shut up, dog, whining dog syndrome. That's what we would suffer from. No, we would have then problems that you'd have 2 pieces of lace that you're trying to join together on the fly. And, well, that's kind of complicated. Snag. The other thing, of course, with snakes is, as Sugar Bear will kind of know, badger, 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 mushroom, mushroom, badger, 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 badger. It's a snake! It's a snake! Sorry. It's a thing, right? But another option, of course, is to join it by hand. Yeah, very much. Another option is to join it by hand. And one is lassen, which is hard to explain. But basically what you do... Upgrade to badges, yeah. With lassen, what you do is you take 2 lots. So I'm folding this over to get the idea. And then you overlap the edges. But in my mind, that's just going to look really thick and stand out from a mile. So I'm not overly convinced by that. But hey, that's why we're doing this. Something's not quite right there either. But, you know what? I mean, it could be used as a bookmark as it is, but once I join it with some friends, I don't know if it's going to be... It is difficult to experiment, but we have strip 1. And I will need to make an additional strip for every join I wish to test. So I need at least 1 more, probably 4 or 5 more, to be honest. But on the good news, they didn't take that long. Because that was the bit that would really begin to worry me, is that if I made this long enough, that, I was expecting this to easily take 2 weeks, right? So I'm really pleased that it took a lot less. I'm not really pleased about the errors, but... Oh, look. I forgot to twist a pair there, look, too. Oh, and there. I forgot to twist a pair there. So the second half is not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's one of those things, it's a bit like magic eye pictures. The more you look, the more you see, But I'm quite pleased with that. After all, I designed it, I made it, it turned out how I thought it would look, give or take a little bit. Oh, I've got the yawns again, sorry. So as for tomorrow, don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I've got all the bobbins I took off my square. I've got all the bobbins I took off this. I would have to knot a big bunch of them together to do either. So I don't know. But I am not displeased with my strip. For it looks like it will be exactly what I needed it to be. As you can see from the top, where the knots are, it makes it look quite messy. But to be honest, even when it comes to net curtain, because I'd be planning to shove it in a bias tape, the top can be as messy as it likes. It doesn't really matter. I didn't want to spend too much time and effort making it perfect. Another option would be to do a bunch cloth stitch at the top, to give it something to be a bit more that you could fold over and be, so it would be nice and strong. But there is a slight downside to that. It's all the cloth stitch. Clearly a nap is in order, I think, to celebrate my finishing of a strip. But I'm actually really pleased with that. I quite like it. I will say that my hate of spiders, I proved that spiders can be nice, mainly because they can be snakes. And that done in a right manner, they can look alright. Done in a wrong manner, I still hate them. But I do like the snake effect. Quite like that. It is slightly awkward to work with because you never actually finish a stitch. You know, like all of these are enclosed in a little diamond. I mean, I could have made them a triangle, for example, so, it kind of cut off, kind of here-ish kind of thing. But it is really difficult that these never actually finish until you get to the bottom. I mean, you could do little waves and make it look a little bit like, moving raindrops down your window or something. That's a potential option. Have a few single spiders and a few kind of trebles or whatever, maybe a 4 or a 2, so that you'd have like a little bit of a yeah there and a yeah over there, and make a long kind of like it's raining down your neck curtain sort of thing. But no, I'm quite happy with that. I think it turned out pretty well. It is nice that you are also supportive of this, that you appreciate that it looks pretty cool for what it is. I know it's only an experiment, so, you know, to be honest, what it looks like is kind of least of the worries. Because, well, all it has to do, really, is be of width and have these little bobbly edges. Shame about the oops there, that's a bit annoying, but such is life. Whew. Oh dear, have I got the yawns? I guess it's because I've been concentrating and forgetting to breathe a little bit. Anyway, on this note, that's me over for today. I shall see you tomorrow with probably some Square. That's the most likely option, Square. And I'll probably try and do a few, pair a few bobbins tonight. So but Square would be the obvious answer because obviously, the more squares we get on with. I do apologise for yawning so much. It's so rude. But anyway, plan some maybe slightly different strips to make because again, don't really want to kind of bore myself with them. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the journey. I will be back tomorrow, as I said. And of course, if you do have questions and stuff, you can always contact me on the social medias, !socials, or post comments on the YouTube before I put all these up on YouTube. But yes, I shall see you all tomorrow. Let me see if there's anybody to bounce you to who would be of interestingness to... Playing a game. Everybody's playing games, by the looks of it. So, on that note then, I shall trust in you to find your own way in life and work out what you want to do. But thank you for coming, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.